So welcome to B06, using Python packages, our demonstration video on file output. So with our construct we had before, where we have with open our file name, and we're going to write out to the file using this file handler writer. So our writer will indicate our file of interest down here, and we're going to write to it. So that's a new function that we're using. And we say for a particular loop that we're going to write out the information in empty list to that file. And we can add on a new line at the end of each line. We also need to close the file at the end. We can also do things inside there, and we have the example before where we change XM to put a greater than symbol beforehand at the start, like faster forward files. And then we have example with the CSV format where here we're writing out to it. We might create field names for the CSV, which are a session and a sequence. So that field names is a special variable we can put in this writer.writeRow header. And then we have a writer file that is the csv.writer my file. So my file goes down there to csv.writer. And then we have for I in range 0 to 6. You're going to use writer to write.row to write out the empty list for each of the items inside empty list, assuming the 6 items. And then we close our file at the end. So those are the steps that we have. A file handle my file, csv.writer accesses my file. We can print out the field names if we have certain header names inside there, and we can write out lists or whatever we have out there and close it at the end. If we do the same for CSV format, we notice this is not ideal. So what we want to do is join these all together. So what we can do is a special trick, which is to encapsulate this empty list at the end. So that creates an empty list as a string of characters altogether, which gives us this output. So let's look at how we can do this with code on PyCharm. Okay, so we can try writing out to a file, and what we're going to do is check what's in line 1 to see if we can print that out. So we try line 1 and see what's there. We can see there's some information there. So what we can do is open a file called input4, and we're going to write out to it. So we go to writer is the name of our file handle. So writer.write, and we might want to write line 1 out of there. However, we need to do it line by line. So it's a bit like read lines. You can only do it line by line. So you might say for each one in line 1, each element of line 1, we're going to write out each entry out of there, like that. So let's just print each one as we go along as well to check. Print each one. And you see there we got that printout at the end. And if we go to check output 4 in our file folders, we'll find that that is present and has written those the series of letters out. And what we can add more things in there. So we can say each one is equal to each one plus a new line at the end, like that. And if we run this, oh, look, an error because I didn't spell it in the right way. If we run this, we'll be able to check our file on our computer and see that it's put a new line after each one. So you can manipulate information as we go along. What we might do then is the CSV file version. So we're going to change this to CSV. We're going to write out to it. And with that, what we're going to have to remember is that we're going to have to use that nickname with the writer command. So writer.csv writer, and we're sending that to us. So now we have our, oh dear, that's the wrong one, W2 and W2. So now our writer is our file handler that we're going to use here. So what we might have is writer.write rows, and we might have field names inside here. We can just keep it simple and put in column. We have multiple columns if we want. And what we're going to have to also include here at the end is writer.close to close the file. And if we run that just to check, what we can see is that there's an indentation issue here. So if we run that now and check out input4.csv, we'll find that that is printed out. One thing we should probably put in here is that the column is a list with square brackets, and that should ensure that that's a single output variable there at the end. So w2.close is the other thing we need to fix. Let's try it again. Okay, so we have it now working. So what we can do next is add more things into it. And we use the same construct we have before for each one in line 1, print, sorry, we're going to do writer dot right row, each one. And that will write out each of these entries into this file. So we run this, that'll put the column inside there. If I put in a colon at the end of the for loop, and then if you check that file, find that that has been written out there. What we could do is encapsulate them if we want each entry to be together. So put that inside there in square brackets. We'll find that our file now contains each entry on a single cell. So by putting the square brackets together, it brings all the elements inside the string together. So that completes this video on file output.